IVM. Hi, we're Team Splainer. Welcome to an all-new episode of Press Decode, a weekly podcast where we take Splainer's mission to declutter the news one step further. Check out our newsletter for more stories and follow us on @SplainerIn to keep up with all the fun things we plan for our Splainer fam. So sit back, relax, and don't let the news give you the blues. I'm Ragini, and I have with me Adya, Sara, and Vagda. Take it away, Adya.
Hi, I'm Adya. I'm the bubbly cheerleader friend who's constantly battling the stereotype that a vegetarian foodie is an oxymoron.
I'm Sarah. Some say I'm funny, some others would say I am the joke. What can I say? The current state of affairs demands that one has ample reserves of humor, whatever be their source.
I'm Vagda. I'm a lawyer and a morning person who struggles to sleep on time. This might be controversial, but I am both a cat and dog person.
And I'm Ragini, your host for the day. I'm what you get when a kid who watches too much TV ends up getting good grades. Basically, I'm a pop culture nerd and also very unwell today. I don't usually sound like this. We have 3 segments for you today. In our big story, we will be discussing the restoration of the Jallianwala Bagh and why it matters. In our Food for Thought segment, we will look at the child porn lawsuit against the band Nirvana for the cover of their album Nevermind. And finally, we will be roasting and toasting our fave and least fave items. And we have some good ones today, so make sure you stick around for that. All right, let's begin with our big story. In 2019, the government allocated 20 crore rupees for the restoration of the Jallianwala Bagh to mark the 100-year anniversary of the tragedy. On Saturday, the Prime Minister unveiled the newly restored memorial, and in response, Kim Wagner, a professor of global and imperial history, tweeted this out. Devastated to hear that Jallianwala Bagh, site of the Amritsar massacre of 1919, has been revamped, which means that the last traces of the event have effectively been erased. This is sadly just part of the general Disneyfication of the old city of Amritsar. What followed was outrage over the corporatization of monuments, as people believed that this was an instance of renovation as opposed to restoration. Now, I'm a history student, so obviously I hate what they've done to the place. I remember when I studied about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, my textbook mentioned that one of the main reasons so many people died was because of how narrow the entrance was, and General Dyer completely blocked it so no one could escape. Now, they've not only paved this entrance, but they've also added sculptures of ordinary Punjabis from daily walks of life, which to me looks like a photo opportunity. But apparently, it represents how they walked into the Jallianwala Bagh on that fateful day and never returned. And then you have the infamous well into which people jumped out of desperation to save their lives. And thus far, its mouth had been left open so people could make offerings of money, flowers, or anything. Now it's been plastered and painted from the inside.
I think I'd like to come in here is back when I was a child, I went in there, and if not for the well, there is no experience of Jallianwala Bagh.
Yeah.
You just stand there and you feel.
Yeah, right. So when I went to Jallianwala Bagh for the first time, I was about 12 or 13. And I promise you, that is the day the spark of post-colonialism started burning in my heart. And it just hasn't stopped since, right? Because like the Jallianwala Bagh massacre was one of the most horrific atrocities of the British rule. And I'm just not sure why it's being made more palatable, right? Because so with the entrance, for example, when 12-year-old Ragini walked through that narrow corridor with no sculptures to distract me, I literally felt so much rage for General Dyer, I can't even begin to explain it. But anyway, for all those people who aren't as emotional about history as I am, Adya, can you please give us a recap into the history of the Jallianwala Bagh?
Yes. So, on March 10th, 1919, the British colonial government passed the Rowlatt Act, which is also known as the Black Act, which gave police the power to arrest anyone and search any place without a warrant. It also allowed the government to throw anyone they suspected of seditious activities in jail without a trial. Obviously, many Indian leaders protested in response, including Jinnah, who resigned from the Legislative Assembly. Mahatma Gandhi then staged a peaceful protest, which was like a nationwide satyagraha on April 6th, 1919. But in some parts of the country, like Punjab, this movement turned violent. Prominent Congress leaders like Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu were also arrested. So then Gandhi decided to call this off. The then Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, Sir Michael O'Dwyer, imposed martial law, which basically bans assembly of more than 4 people in one place in Amritsar and in Lahore on April 11th. But the order didn't reach Amritsar until April 14th, right? And so on April 13th, which is Baisakhi, a number of people went to the Golden Temple, and then about 15 to 20,000 people gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh at 4 p.m. for a meeting scheduled to protest the Rowlatt Act and the arrest of Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu. At 5 p.m., General Dyer marched in with 50 soldiers, blocked the only exit from the park, and opened fire without warning. Even though the crowd began dispersing and fleeing after the first volley of shots, these soldiers fired on and finished their entire 1,650 rounds of firing, which went on for 10 minutes continuously. According to the British, the official death toll was 379, but the Indian National Congress insisted it was about 1,000, with 500 others injured. About 120 bodies were recovered from the well in the Bagh, where hordes of people jumped in an attempt to escape the firing. The youngest to be killed was 9 years old, and the oldest was 80 years old. The Hunter Commission was set up afterwards to investigate the Jalyawala Bagh massacre, and General Dyer was asked to resign, even though he was hailed a hero among the British. Sir Dwyer, on the other hand, was let off the hook, but later assassinated by revolutionary Udham Singh, who was a survivor from also Jallianwala Bagh massacre.
Hey, aren't they making a movie on Udham Singh?
Yeah.
They are. Hai na?
Yeah,
Yeah, with
they
Vicky
are.
Kaushal.
Yeah.
Oh no.
How's the Josh?
Average, sir.
Okay, thanks for that, Adya. Now, see, the tiny exit of Jallianwala Bagh and the well are so important to the memorial, right? They're such important parts of the trauma associated with the Bagh. Why did we need to build murals on top of the passageway? I mean, this is not really restoration, right?
Yeah.
It's distracting. You're building a theme park. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Disneyfication, exactly that. I was like, this is such a good word for it.
Yeah. Now, I'm not an expert in like conservation or anything, but from what I have read in art and heritage, renovation, restoration, preservation, and conservation all mean very different things. Renovation simply means to make an object look like it's new. So the object itself, the materials used, the place of that particular thing in time is not critical, is not important.
Yeah.
That is what is renovation. Restoration is bringing back something to its former position. So repairs in restoration are done with bare minimum changes to the original building fabric, and with it's usually done with the same or similar materials, and if possible using the same methods that were used when it was first created. So for example, like if Agra Fort is built with red sandstone from Dholpur and there is a broken jali now that you have to repair, you'll probably order Dholpuri sandstone to build that jali again.
Right.
You know, you're not going to build a mural.
So it's basically the opposite. It's the opposite of renovation.
Yeah,
The
it
renovation
is.
is making it new, and restoration is making it old. Like,
Exactly. And preservation, on the other hand, is like preventing destruction. So you're you're trying to make sure that the object is not changed, it's not irredeemably damaged. That's preservation. And conservation is like the absolute maximum of the original material to be used. So if the broken jali is broken, you use fragments of that broken jali to build that jali itself, rather than ordering new stone or whatever. So that's like the best, I think, to be honest, in my opinion. Conservation is the best possible way to go for any kind of like preservation of heritage. Now, it's obviously clear that we've gone with renovation for our Jallianwala Bagh because we are making a theme park and not like building a memorial here. Because who goes to Jallianwala Bagh and says, "Yaar, ye sundar nahi hai. Ye kaisi jagah hai? Ise sundar banao."
I mean, I do know someone who thought so, and hence we're left with Jallianwala Bagh looking like this.
And it's so surprising that like Archaeological Survey of India oversaw this. Like when I read that, I was like, your expertise lies in archaeology and heritage conservation, right? I shouldn't be telling you this. You should be telling me this. But the decision was likely dictated from the top by people who know little about remembering grief. A certain someone that Sarah likes to hate on.
A certain someone indeed.
Who? I have no idea who you guys are talking about.
Try again. Certain someone. Anyway, but on a more serious note, remembering and commemorating grief is very tricky territory. A lot of outrage on Twitter, especially about the renovation, was about capitalizing on tragedy and grief. And even Ragini mentioned it in the beginning. And that's when I went into this wormhole of grief tourism or dark tourism. As the name suggests, dark tourism is about visiting places where the darkest events of human history have unfolded. Now, that can include genocide, assassination, incarceration, ethnic cleansing, war, or disaster. And if it isn't already clear, this isn't a new phenomenon. From Auschwitz to Chernobyl to the 9/11 Memorial in New York to Kala Pani in Andamans, to heck, even Jallianwala Bagh pre the controversial renovation. They all worked on the same logic.
Pretty much.
And the tricky bit isn't even the economics or financial imperatives that come out of this tourism. Like Darren Anderson in the Architectural Review explains, the challenge of memorializing is to strike balances. On a basic level, to forget is to effectively erase and aid the killers.
Yeah.
If the memorials are too graphic, they appear salacious. If too docile, they will lack impact. A balance must be struck between being educational but not enjoyable, respectful but not pious.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that Jalyawala Bagh makeover definitely didn't strike that balance.
100%.
I mean, just look at the entrance. Where is the balance in any of that? An entrance that has a history of being such an entrance into
Like,
the Jallianwala Bagh.
Like, would 12-year-old Ragini feel the same way if she walked into with like those sculptures on the side, you know? Like, would you have the same impact?
Yeah, she would probably be like, oh my God, wow, I'm going
घाघरा
into...
पहना है, मुझे भी पहनना है, मेरे फोटो
Yeah. Yeah.
Photo
So
op,
that's what-
you know, like, let me get pictures with these ordinary Punjabis, right? Like,
Literally. Yeah.
So, like we've established, dark tourism is clearly not without its drawbacks.
Yeah.
The biggest problem actually that comes is with popularity is the sheer overwhelming number of people. So for an example, pre 9/11, about 1.8 million tourists per year went up to the observation deck of the World Trade Center. Post 9/11 in 2002, 3.6 million visitors came to Ground Zero to see the ruins of the Twin Towers.
Whoa.
Yes, grief doubled the numbers.
I mean,
Oh my God.
yeah, like I'm surprised, but also obviously it did.
That's where the discomfort comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
With huge crowds comes the risk of human idiocy.
Always.
It's as simple as that. So again, an example, visitors to Auschwitz, the former Nazi death camp, had to be reminded that posing for photos while balancing on its infamous railway tracks is downright disrespectful to the memory of the dead.
Yes. Oh my God, I remember
so
this.
is having a promo video, an hour-long promo video for the Jalyawala Bagh renovation as it is now.
I hope the certain someone listens to Press Decode on the IVM Podcast Network.
I am so lost. I don't even know who this person is.
Taking IVM down with us.
But despite the sheer margin for error, I do still firmly believe that if done right, grief tourism allows for provocative thoughts that better allow us to commemorate the forgotten. I mean, how else will 12-year-old Ragini feel everything she felt?
Yeah,
Agreed.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing like a museum, isn't it?
Precisely.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the whole thing with the Jallianwala Bagh is just that no one is saying that you shouldn't have the Jallianwala Bagh open for people to visit. But like you said, that has to be a balance because it is a very, very sensitive issue. And on that note, we come to the end of this segment. We will be back after a short break. You are listening to Press Decode on the IVM Podcast Network.
If you're a cricket fan, check out Edges and Sledges, India's favorite cricket podcast.
The podcast focuses on Indian cricket, the IPL, and has a ton of banter both on and off the field.
We talk about the week's biggest cricket stories with current and ex-international cricketers, coaches, or sometimes just between us.
And it's hosted by me, DJ.
Me, Varun.
And me, Ashwin.
New episodes release every week.
You can catch us on the IVM Podcast's website, app,
Or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Press Decode on the IVM Podcast Network. We're Team Splainer, and make sure you follow us on @Splainer on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with the Splainer fam. It is now time for our Food for Thought segment. Spencer Eldon became world's most famous babies when he was featured on the cover of Nirvana's 1991 album, Nevermind. The cover features nude baby Eldon floating underwater. It also features a fish hook with a dollar bill struck through it and depicts baby Eldon swimming towards the bill. Basically, the cover is supposed to be a commentary on capitalism, etc., etc. Now, Spencer Eldon has filed a lawsuit against Nirvana for child pornography because obviously he was nude on the cover, which actually went on to become an iconic critique of capitalism, like one of the most iconic. His lawyer had this to say: to ensure the album cover would trigger a visceral sexual response from the viewer, the photographer activated Spencer's gag reflex before throwing him underwater in poses highlighting and emphasizing Spencer's exposed genitals. Cobain chose the image depicting Spencer, like a sex worker, grabbing for a dollar bill that is positioned dangling from a fish hook in front of his nude body with his penis explicitly displayed. However, over the years, Eldon has recreated the album cover on several anniversaries of the release of the album, but of course, he was wearing swimming trunks in all the recreations. So, where I'm at with this story is confusion. What is going on with this lawsuit?
Okay, so this is what I've gathered so far. Spencer had this photo shoot done when he was 4 months old by a family friend, Kirk Weddle, the photographer, who paid his parents $200 for it, right? The parents don't seem to actually have signed any document that released pictures of baby Eldon to be used commercially, according to the lawsuit, and weren't even aware that the shoot for this was for this album cover in particular.
Okay.
Even from earlier interviews, to New York Post and Sunday Times, Spencer has expressed discomfort with his baby picture exposing his genitalia being used to sell albums all over the world.
Oh, okay.
And like Ragini said, he recreated the same pose on the album's 10th, 17th, 20th, and 25th anniversaries, albeit in swimming trunks.
Yeah.
In 2007, he said it was, I quote, kind of creepy that many people have seen me naked. I feel like the world's biggest porn star.
Oh, wow.
In 2016, the occasion of the album's 25th anniversary, he said, it's strange that I did this for 5 minutes when I was 4 months old and it became this really iconic image. It's cool but weird to be part of something so important that I don't even remember. And later the same year, he also said, recently I've been thinking, what if I wasn't okay with my freaking penis being shown to everybody? I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
All of which points to a pattern of unease from when he was at least a teenager, right? Because the earliest interviews that I have on record are like 2007. And so his legal team also says that he never had the chance to give consent for his penis being exposed.
That's very true.
And he's now asking Nirvana, I quote, to do what Nirvana should have done 30 years ago and redact images of his genitalia from the album cover.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that Spencer may be doing this solely out of a feeling of humiliation, because he has also added on multiple occasions that part of the discomfort is from the fact that he earned no money off this image being used on a very well-known album cover, whereas everyone else involved profited massively from it.
Oh.
The photographer of this famous picture, Weddle, also said about Spencer that he's conflicted about the picture. He feels that everybody made money off it and he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he deserves something. But it's always the record labels that make the money. And so I obviously have no definite answers here, but an additional 150,000 from everyone involved, which is 15 people, I don't think would hurt Spencer. So it's definitely like a combination of...
It's very confusing. So confusing.
Right?
I mean, he is saying that
Right?
he wants them to redact the image. Then he wants money because he's not benefited out of it. So like, what is it? You know, when I heard the story first, like my first thought was maybe he just wants to be, forgotten. Like, think about it. Obviously, he said it also. Would you want your baby penis to be embedded in people's memory?
No.
Oh my God.
No one would. It's like...
And like with memory, the advantage is that it might fade.
Yeah.
Right? But the internet, that never forgets.
Never.
Yeah.
Internet footprint is a serious concern for people, man.
I still cringe at like Facebook posts I made when I was 12, 13 years
Same
old.
Yep.
Facebook pictures and Facebook posts. I'm like, these are never going away as much as I
I
try
had
to delete
Facebook
them.
albums that were like me and my besties. Besties at the mall.
I went on a Facebook purge. My Facebook looks much better now.
This is why I'm not on Facebook anymore.
Smart.
But it's still there somewhere on the internet, somewhere in some server, in some cloud, it's there.
Probably.
But this Spencer can't go off, right? Because
Hmm.
there will be some dark corner of the internet that will still have.
Exactly.
even
And
if he
that's
tries
where,
to remove it.
you know, guys, have you heard of the right to be forgotten?
No.
It's
What?
No. What
so
is
it's
that?
something that's related to a person's right to privacy. It's not recognized in India right now, but it's part of the draft data protection bill. So it's there, it's getting made. And it's sort of gained popularity in Europe through court rulings and is now part of Europe's general data protection regulation. So their privacy law has it since 2018.
Hmm.
You're heading to, oh, wait, you're not there in EU anymore. So we don't know about what's going to happen to you. Essentially, the right to be forgotten means that individuals can ask organizations to delete their personal data.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can go to Google and ask them, listen, I don't want this thing anymore. Like, please delete it.
Oh.
And they'll delete it for you.
Oh, so like, the right to be forgotten.
Yes.
Oh, makes
I feel
sense.
like this right to be forgotten, the name of this would make a lot of really good memes. Like I feel like Gen Z humor would do so well off this right to be forgotten.
That is
Yeah.
true. But it's also really
You
cool.
can work on that.
Yeah, this is really fascinating.
Yeah. Also in India also, I mean, there have been demands of all of this people have been citing this right to be forgotten in Indian courts. Like most recently, actor Ashutosh Kaushik filed a petition before Delhi High Court citing his right to be forgotten to have videos of his drunk driving incident and some violent brawl he was a part of years ago to be removed from the internet. Because why? Because he's missed out on a lot of rishtas.
I'm just okay. This is gonna sound like
Can't relate.
the most like horrible generalization, but I'm just not amused, like not surprised that this happened in Delhi.
Yeah.
Hey!
Delhi history. This sounds like Delhi history.
Oh my god, that's not. I was just gonna say, yeah, like only in India, but
Sara,
I
you
guess
kind of grew up
only in
here,
Delhi.
okay? I mean, in Delhi. So
Yeah, I mean, I grew up here. I love the city, but well,
okay, so now we might want our stupid video removed from the face of the internet, but like for some people, this means serious stuff, like
Yeah.
convicts who served their time, whose reputation continues to be questioned because of the undying memory of Google,
Mhm.
right? Or someone who had like a family
Yeah.
dispute and now the case order is up on Indian Qanun. So, yeah, seriously. I attended a
Yeah,
conference on this like 3 years ago.
What, like for
Yeah, like Indian Qanun, the founder of Indian Qanun was listing out how many people have come to him to like get their case orders removed of Indian Qanun.
oh my god. Yeah, I guess like awkward, no? Having a family dispute. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I feel like
I
this-
beat my
this
wife
idea of
up, or
archiving-
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
served time for it, or I
That's
don't
true.
know, like
Hmm.
all kinds
This
of
archiving
details.
cases and referring back to it. I feel like that's also so interesting, right? The politics of that, like
Yeah.
not wanting to have that unearthed.
And for Spencer, it's obviously his baby penis on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants that to be redacted, but he also wants to sue for damages. So, like, I don't know what he wants. He's confused. We are all confused.
Yeah.
And I understand his confusion because
The theme for food for thought is confusion.
yes, I was waiting for Ragini's an analysis. No food for thought is complete without it. Anyway, so when I first read the story, I wrote it off as just another lawsuit against people with big bucks. The classic, I will either get really famous or end up with a lot of money. And honestly, I can stand by that also. But somehow the story stuck, and I was grappled with the intricacies of trauma that Spencer possibly went through. And the way Adya laid out, it is very
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah.
And clearly left us all confused. So this in turn got me thinking about the ethics of children in the entertainment biz.
Mm.
We see them everywhere, from reality shows to movies to Insta influencers now to models.
Yeah.
What we don't seem to see, however, are the long term ramifications of being in the public gaze at such a young age.
Right.
And I think this case is as good as any other to really confront questions like whether we should hold back from establishing public images for children who are too young to even know what the public means. And are we self-delusional when we tell ourselves that the children are in control of the narrative if proper precautions are taken?
Yeah, a little bit, no?
Definitely, we are
What
because there is
children
no
are
way that children know
4-month-old Spencer can't be in control of any kind of narrative.
of his narrative. Yeah,
I mean, not Spencer, but slightly older. You know, you have your tweens
Yeah.
on the internet as well.
Yeah.
It's still not proper decision making, in my opinion.
Yeah.
India, especially, I think the whole charade of reality talent shows are the best cases to understand exactly how exploitative being a child performer can be.
Mhm.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
They're expected to cry and sing and rejoice and get angry and feel all sorts of emotions while trying to put up their best performances, or boom, threat of elimination.
Yeah.
In terms of the law, child performers are listed as exceptions to the International Labour Organization's 1973 convention, which talks about the minimum age for employment. And thus, as long as they receive a payment for the work they do, they're allowed to work. This, of course, is only relevant if they have permits which regulate the number of hours they're made to work along with the working conditions. But other than that, how does one actually regulate the sphere of mental health? We've seen enough examples of things going awry, be it Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, or Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
hence now the Eldon lawsuit, whatever its motivations may be, is a good enough reason to at least have this conversation.
No, for sure. Like the confusion is there, but you're right. The conversation needs to be had because it
Mhm.
it happens time and again. And it's so the worst part is when, these are children who the worst part is when adults turn around on these children and they're like, oh, but now, oh, then you didn't say, but now, because hey, they were children, you know?
Yeah, and also I like children are applauded for these things. Like no one talks about the mental health angle. Everyone is like, oh my God, you started doing this at the age of like 12. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But like, should we really be applauding these people? Like, amazing, they are very talented.
Of course.
But like, no one's talking about the mental health angle of like not actually, encouraging people to
Yeah.
go out
I
there.
mean, you look at like Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, any of them.
Exactly,
They
yeah.
were it was the public that turned against them. And
Yeah, for sure.
anyway, with that, we come to the end of our second segment. We will be right back after a short break. You are listening to Press Decode on the IVM Podcast Network.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Pulyabazi, Pranav and Saurabh talked to author Ghazala Wahab. They bust many myths surrounding Indian Islam. On Postcards from Nowhere with Utsav, discover the lifestyle of the lesser-known Gujar Bakarwals. On Speakeasy with Dheeraj, best-selling author Mainak Dar divulges how he gets so much done. On the Habit Kosh, Ashton is joined by Daniel Lobo. He shares his journey of being a mental health advocate. And on Storytellers and Storysellers, Vinny talks to Hyderabad-based musician PK about her new song, You Don't Have To. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the word about a podcast. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Ciet Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intuit India. We really do appreciate the support. You are what makes this possible.
Welcome back to Press Decode on the IVM Podcast Network. It's time for our final segment this week, Roast or Toast. How do we want to begin? Should we begin with least fave?
Yes.
I think we should stick to it.
So who? Sarah, least fave is like your comfort zone now at this point.
Genuinely had a favorite last week, but everyone seems to forget.
Oh,
Anyway,
no, I'm so sorry.
thanks. Anyway, this week I'm back
1
to
of 5.
math.
Quick maths.
I lost you. Anyway, this is peak grump today. So China, as part of its sweeping educational reforms, has banned exams for 6 and 7-year-olds to avoid harm to their mental and physical health. Exams in other years have been limited to once a term, with midterm and mock examinations being allowed in junior high school. Moreover, all tuition schools have been turned non-profit and they've been banned from teaching on the weekend and holidays.
What's the problem? This is very exciting. Good news.
This is your least fave.
How is this your least favorite item?
The person who's on Google Docs at 4 a.m. every night is sad about this.
Okay.
About lack of work.
I thought about this. I thought you'd have a question. Well, it's my least fave for only one reason. In India, when?
Oh my God.
I
yeah.
am sick of this. Okay, I'm well out of college and I still have outrageous dreams of like, I didn't study for my exam from board exams, which happened what 5 years ago.
Wow, how many years ago is that for me? Oh shit, let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
I am in new territory. I have a least fave this time.
Oh wow.
From Splainer's Wednesday edition, I would like to hate on a new trend in the dating world. Roaching. Have you guys heard of roaching?
No.
I hate these. I don't understand these dating world terms.
I'm here to
Does
tell you.
anyone, like, oh my God.
Yes, please, Vaga.
So roaching refers to the act of hiding the fact that you're seeing lots of other people from the person you've newly started dating.
But is this an open relationship or not? Because that's
So it is an open relationship for you, but not for the person who you recently started dating, because they don't know that you have multiple partners.
Dude.
And why does
that's
it?
a conversation?
Yeah, and it's called roaching because it's inspired by the ickiness of seeing one of these nasty little bugs, but knowing that when you turn the lights on, there are lots of them. So you kind of know that there is someone, but you don't actually want to see it, so you don't turn the light on. And then when you turn the light on, there are like so many instead of one.
Nice. This was like Love Guru Vagda. Vagda Ji, Vagda Guru.
No, but I am not.
This is just like communication gap more than anything else. Like if you want to have multiple partners, do it. Just tell the person you're seeing.
Yes. But the thing is that I've read quotes from like people who were like working at OkCupid and all, or like these matchmaker spaces, or basically dating app people, that one of the quotes, for example, said that you can tell if you're being roached if you feel like the person is not really available or present for you and very private about certain details, which is bullshit, because I'm like, excuse me? Like, I am a private person. I want privacy of my phone, of my room. And just because I have that kind of privacy, or I'm hiding like whatever I do on my phone, that doesn't mean I'm roaching you, man.
Thank
like,
God.
not that I have multiple partners at this point, but if I did, I would be upfront about it.
Thank God you made it clear, because I'm just like, I am a private person. I'm mostly not available.
Yeah.
Is this what it's called now?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to favorite items. My favorite item this week was about female octopuses fighting male octopuses, harassing them.
What?
I know, I loved it. So basically, according to detailed analysis of camera footage of octopuses off the coast of Australia, researchers gathered that female octopuses throw stuff like silt, algae, and shells at their male counterparts when they piss them off.
Yes.
Yes,
Come
queen.
through.
In one instance, a female octopus threw silt at a male octopus 10 times because he kept trying to mate with her. And I just want to say, yes, you go. Go get him. I'm feeling so inspired, guys.
We should do this too. We should throw silt at boys.
Like, no means no.
So,
Yeah. And if they don't get it,
I'm
throw
so
silt and
amused.
shells at them and algae.
I'm so amused. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. My fave item is also in the animal domain. It's from our Tuesday edition, where we featured something called a scrotum frog. Wait, why? No. Okay, everybody is so immature. Let me tell you, these are one of the world's largest aquatic frogs. And basically their skin is a bit hangy. Okay. That's why the name. That's why the name. Okay. But come on, they're the world's largest aquatic frogs. So like, hey, and they're okay, but
and they're endangered as well, right? So
yeah, they're endangered as well. But
balls aren't.
okay. They are primarily found in a lake near the border of Peru and Bolivia. But actually, this is the funniest part. The name of the lake is Lake Titicaca. Okay. So it is sometimes even called the Lake Titicaca Frog. Now, I don't know if that's any better than Scrotum Frog.
Ragni, you told us to be mature 1 second ago. 1 second.
Dude,
Goes Lake
Imagine.
Titicaca.
just imagine the luck of this frog to have like hangy skin, then to be native to the Lake Titicaca, then to be called the Scrotum Frog. This frog.
Oh, frog.
And
Life.
in memory of the Scrotum Frog, we will end our show this week. Thank you so much for joining us on Press Decode. You can catch us every Thursday on the IVM Podcast Network. And guys, please remember, don't let the news give you the blues.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring you a very heartcake chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood,
Get accustomed to womanhood.
enjoy the experience of sisterhood,
Might get to wifehood
or not, choose motherhood,
or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
earn a livelihood,
Change the neighborhood.
and get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Natasha,
And me, Ayushi,
on a journey from station starting point.
to station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station, and hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.